Hello everyone! It's been a crazy few weeks. Having said so, I had this amazing live yesterday and it was about people with narcissistic personality disorders. Hi Michael, and it was especially for the partners suffering from the ones who have narcissistic personality disorders. And why? Because the partners have a tendency to isolate you, belittle you, put you down, and even make you feel like it's you, have you apologize until nothing is left, unless someone is going to help you speak out, tell you what's going to happen. You speak out yourself, maybe because of a pregnancy. Oh, you have been there. You want to join, Michael? If so, please send me a request because I believe this is a very, very important topic. So both Joe and Bonnie were sharing their story last night and it was very emotional. So, Michael, I'm going to invite you. I don't know if you have the chance to join. No, you not always have the time, and I would understand so. But it's like I said, it's so very important. And I actually started out by telling about one of my clients, and he's a guy. And sure, just let me know when you're ready. And people are mistaken that it only happens to women. And here's the thing. As women, we are supposed or we are considered the ones who get beaten up. Hey, Angela. And of course, not as strong as guys are. A quick hello. Well, I'm talking about last night's show, which I did about partners with narcissistic personality disorders, basically making their partners feel isolated, tear them down, bit by bit, and making them believe that it's them, having them say sorry, when in fact it's the partner who's actually to blame. But if when they don't have any help and they don't know how to speak up, or there's no one who's actually speaking up for them, it's getting hard. So you want to join, Angela, for a sec? I always love having you around. And there, oh, this is going the way it should. So let's see who wants to join. I think Michael's going to join in a little bit, but let's see. Okay, I'm trying to invite you people. I'm trying to invite Maria. But anyway, we had some very, very emotional stories last night. And I have to say credits for Joe and for Bonnie for having the courage to come live and share their stories. And also credits to Zen the Man. Because, yay, there's Michael. Because he also gave his ideas about those people who basically have a God complex. Hi, Michael. So good to see you.
You too. How are you?
I'm fine. Yesterday, last night, it was a very intense life. Um, I'm grateful that people were actually opening up and sharing their story. And I sent it to a client. It actually started out with me sharing about the client. So this
hmm
morning I sent it to him and he said, please tell them thank you because he's a guy and most people don't realize this happens to guys too. So
Yeah.
you said you've been there. So do you want to share something?
My first marriage, I was mentally psychologically, emotionally, verbally abused, and I felt like I was on eggshells for 5 years. It was very disempowering and made me feel weak and little and less than and unequal to, and like I had to, like I couldn't speak out, I couldn't speak up, I couldn't tell anybody how I felt, and like my entire family, my friends thought I was happy, I was good because I hid it and I didn't know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the common thread. People hide it, and I'm not sure why it is. I think from what I've been told, it has to do with shame, and also the partner is very good at making it your fault.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I always default to it's my fault.
mhm.
That's the way I've always been. I figured, like, this is the my first thought was this must be the way long-term relationships are. They're just good and bad, and then it just got worse and worse and worse, and then the good started to like not be there at all. And the last year and a half was hell.
Yes,
And I just
yes.
thought that
Did you get mentally abused or also physically? What
no,
was?
it was mental, verbal, psychological. It was everything but physical. If it was physical, that I would have been out of there. I would have fought back and probably gone to jail.
Okay, okay. I see Maria has a very similar experience, so I'm going to ask her if she wants to join. Um, and yeah, that's basically what Sam said too last night. He said if and that's the thing my client also said. He said like I was terrified at a certain point because she was like challenging me to actually do something, hit her or whatever it was. And she actually started smashing the windows. And at that point, and I'm so proud of him, uh, he remained he kept his cool, and he actually said, and now you have to leave. But then a few days later, she wrapped
Hmm.
him around her little pinky again, and she showed
My ex,
up. And
my ex would
hi there.
yell. I would not say a word, and that would make her even more mad.
Say again. Sorry.
My ex would yell and argue, and then I would not say a word, and I would like cower, and that would make her even more mad.
Yes.
It would make it
Yes.
worse.
Yeah. It's devastating, and it happens a lot. And
Yeah.
but we don't know it, and even those who are very close to us, we don't see it. So, Maria, you said you had a very similar experience.
Hi, Lexi. Hi, Michael. I was thinking about you today. I didn't see you in Movement Makers. Are you okay?
I
I'm
love the
good.
movement
Oh,
makers.
Thursday, crap! I forgot. I
Oh, I
can.
missed you. So yeah,
I
I had a very similar, I mean, of course we all have our own experience, but emotional abuse is so insidious. Like Michael said, if she would have been hitting me, I would have been out of there, or it would have been different. But it's really insidious, and it's sort of like a mental manipulation. It's almost like is this sense of what do they call it now? What do they call it? It's like you're being immersed in this environment that other people like see. Oh, I know in my experience, he looked like an amazing person to the outside, but inwardly there was this constant undermining. And I did at the very beginning think that, I tried to twist myself into a pretzel so that he wouldn't be angry at me, or, he'd be angry at, like, if I bought the wrong cereal because I wasn't thinking about him. It was crazy stuff.
mm,
And every time I took steps to improve my life, he felt more threatened. And then it would get, because, he was a very hurt person, and hurt people, especially those closest to them. And I think that based on my childhood, traumas and experiences, my self-esteem kept me there for 8 years until I started to, over the time, I grew stronger. I did have a little support. At the beginning, I would share with a friend something that he said to me, and she would say, you know, Maria, that's abusive. Like, I didn't even know it was abusive at first, you know. You sort of steeped in it. And I remember when I finally got strong enough, and it was like, I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I called him up at work, and I said, I would like to separate. I just can't do this dance with you anymore. Because he really believed that his unhappiness was about me. And that if I was different, then he would be happy and the relationship would work. And I couldn't try to become that person because it was complicated. So when
basically those people, they lack empathy. And I loved what Sen yesterday said. He said they have a God complex, which of course is true. So, and because they don't have the empathy, they make it like it's your fault. And then you start to apologize. So I noticed that Michael, you became a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
So is there anything you recognize from what Maria's saying?
Oh yeah, I definitely deferred to her as like not God, but like the one in charge. And like I took my cues from her. So I just basically was there. I didn't feel or express or like I was just there. I didn't like have any emotions or thoughts or feelings or for years. I just was existing.
Mm-hmm.
So how come that your emotions were gone? Were they like you were numb? Is that
Yeah, they were just shut down. They were just when she yelled, and when I'm not good with kind of confrontation. So when the more she would yell and argue and tell me how things are, I would cower and withdraw. Yeah, I would just withdraw, cower, shut up, not say a word, not fight back, not argue. I would just let it happen.
So how about you, Maria? Would you also withdraw?
Well, it was my second marriage. I'm married now for 10 years for the third time. So it was my second marriage, and I had a daughter from my first marriage, and I really did understand that he was a sick, hurting man. And I think that for many years I sort of went to that, you know, like I made excuses for him. And also felt like, okay, I don't want to create even more instability for my daughter. And so there were a lot of other things that kept me there. And then, of course, I wanted to have peace and harmony in the relationship. So I tried for a long time. And again, I go back to this idea that, you know, he was a very hurt person, but I also felt like it wasn't, finally I got enough self-esteem to say, I don't deserve to be the whipping board no matter how hurt he's been. And that's when I made the decision that I can't do it any longer. And then I realized once we separated how I had suppressed so much anger that I, not only anger at him, but anger that I was not respecting myself enough to get out of there. And it took me a while, you know, because after we separated, he tried to do everything to reconcile. And it would be that we even had that in our pattern in our marriage. He would be nasty to me, and then a week later he'd be buying me flowers, or he'd be nasty to me and he'd like get tickets to go on vacation. You know, it was like this pattern of like almost like he never said I'm sorry, but he always tried to make it up, you know. And he tried that once we separated, and I realized though once he separated that the anger was just coming up. Like I was like so angry, and I knew that I couldn't even go near him. And it took me a while. It took me a while to to get over that. But I remember getting my own apartment and feeling like I didn't have to walk on eggshells was like the most amazing. Because you know, Michael, when you're like living in a place where you feel like you have to step on eggshells,
Yeah.
for it's you can't just be. So getting my own place, and then of course being in a relationship, I met someone who was very loving and encouraged me to be me, and so I was graced with the opposite of that. I met someone who he also was in an abusive relationship, and we sort of helped each other heal from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
an
the question
interesting.
is when is enough enough, and when do you recognize it? So some people say it's you know, in yesterday's live show, both women that were sharing their story were actually both of them were 21 and they were pregnant. Fortunately, one was able to keep her baby, but the other one lost her baby at 8 months old. So well, when she was 8 months pregnant, I mean, and you know, it's heartbreaking. And Maria, you say, okay, if there would have been physical abuse, but here's the thing: for one, there was physical abuse, but because of the pregnancy, well, no, actually later on, because she had this kid, and she didn't want the kid to be involved. Hi, Rosie. She made a decision after he had been abusing her for hours and hours to, you know, get out. The other one, it was a police officer who actually said, like, if he's going on the way he is, you're not going to survive. So I know that for men it can be a little bit different. So Michael, you didn't have any physical abuse, but you had all else. And what I've noticed is that because they're so good at isolating people and also breaking them down, making them sort of dependent on them, like you're not good, it's you know, those terms that well, you already said you were withdrawing, and the question, of course, becomes like, okay, so how do you get through the day? How do you survive? I mean, I know people may start drinking, you know, anything to
I
numb
did that.
themselves. Okay, and you know, maybe even smoking, doing other stuff. So at some point, it's like, okay, my partner is not physically killing me, but they're doing it mentally, and now I'm getting in a shape which might actually kill me because of what I'm doing. So you recognize this, Michael?
Oh yeah, like I drank way too much. I mean, I don't think I wasn't an alcoholic. I mean, I can be in a bar, I can drink one and be fine. But when I was in that relationship, I drank too much because I wanted to be numb, and I wanted to forget, and I wanted to be happy. And depending on what I drank, I got angry. Most of the time, I would be happy, funny, and then fall asleep. And sometimes I got angry. But yeah, I drank way too much when I was married the first time. And one of the last arguments we ever had, she actually said to me, "You're not a man," and that wrecked me for years.
Yeah, I can only imagine a little bit, but that must have been really, really hard if someone tells you something like that. But that's typical for those partners who have a narcissistic personality disorder, whether diagnosed or not. They make it like it's you're at fault, and you're not good enough. It's not like that. And it's like Maria said, they're not even saying they're sorry. So
yeah.
and that's so hard. So I'm very curious, because Maria, you said one day you decided enough is enough. But Michael, how did you get out?
She kicked me out.
And
I
she
probably,
didn't
I
try to
felt
reel you back in?
I was so weak. I probably would have stayed, but we had an argument one day, and then she just filled my car up with my clothes and said, "Get out."
That was the best gift she's ever given you.
Yeah, and it's funny. My wife now says that if she saw my first wife, she would thank her.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So how about you, Maria? What made you decide
Yeah.
to
So I
quit?
also want to say, though, I only can speak a couple more minutes because I really do have to get some work done before I want to go to the 11 o'clock gathering with Zan and Evan. I just popped on because you invited me. Thank you for inviting me. So for me, it was a process. Like I said before, I slowly, I saw myself starting to numb myself. I turned to emotional eating, and I didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to do that because I didn't want to abandon my daughter. I had a daughter, and I knew that numbing myself would have me abandon her. So I stopped. I stopped doing that. I made a commitment to stop that, and then he was an unhealed addict. So he had addiction, but he didn't go to like recovery or 12-step or anything like that. And so sometimes when you're dealing with somebody who has addictions, if they're not anesthetized, they're harder to be around because, so, the whole thing with like programs that help you, you have to address all the emotions that, like Michael said, that you're numbing, So I ended up, I went to Al-Anon actually, which helped me a lot too, because I was in a relationship with an addict, and that helped me and gave me a support system to start to cultivate, because it was really about me. I attracted that relationship, and I stayed in that relationship, and for a variety of reasons, not to blame myself, but the catalyst was that I had to take responsibility for me and not be the victim. And as I got stronger through support, and then I was working, I went back to school, and each time I did this, of course, he was more threatened. I got my graduate degree. I just kept working on myself. And I also had a very strong faith, which I still do. And it was a lot of courage. There was grace there, meeting the right people. And then eventually I was like, I just can't do this another day. And that was the beginning of just me healing on a whole nother level, because I was starting to say, I don't deserve to be treated this way. And it was it was a process, because like I said at the beginning, I didn't even know that I was being mistreated. And then, the word I was looking for before is gaslighting, that you start to think you're crazy, right? And
yes, they're very good at that.
yeah, and I hate to even put it like there, because I know that we're human beings, that we're hurt, right? Again, I'll say hurt people, and so sometimes he was very different with his ex-wife. Sometimes it's the chemistry between people that bring out the worst in each other, and so it was an opportunity to grow stronger. And I think that no other relationship would have forced me to grow certain kinds of strengths and self-esteem. That relationship put me to the ground, and it forced me. It was like the phoenix rising. I had to get it from me, inside me. And it's an ongoing process today, because I wasn't brought up in a culture where I felt like it was okay to take care of myself as a woman. I also had, there was a lot of trauma in my own childhood. And so it's been a long healing journey. And that's part of the work I do with, women that struggle with emotional eating or addiction, because addictive behaviors is, like Michael said, it's a numbing, because it's difficult to be living life on life's terms. Maybe it's too painful for whatever reason. But I do believe that the world is our mirror, and that we mirror back to us. Every time he undermined me, maybe not to the degree that he undermined me, but there was a part of me that was undermining me, right? If I'm not respecting myself, then I'm undermining me.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because I want people who are listening to know that it's not like they are to blame themselves. Because that's what usually happens is that you, because of the gaslighting, you might start to think like, see, it's me, it's my fault, I haven't done well. So whereas I have to compliment you for taking action, taking responsibility, when people are not aware of what's going on, it's also good that they realize that yes, of course they can take action, but what if they're not ready yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you, Michael? What's your...
I blamed myself for years. That's why I stayed. I thought it was all me.
Yeah.
Because she was a nurse, so I thought she was supposed to be nice and giving and good to people. So I figured, like, if she's this way to me, it must be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And there are people
Okay.
that die because they stay in abusive relationships. It's very common because it takes a lot to get out of that, you know. I mean, yeah, the battered women that go back to the guy that's battering them. I mean, battered men too. I mean, I remember years ago, there was a couple that lived, he was being physically hit by this little woman that he was married to. So it's a very sad circumstance, and that's why I said I feel like there was grace involved also for me, because some people live out their whole life with that, you know.
That's true. It's when you are capable of getting out, I believe it makes you so much stronger. And then of course you can teach others. So I know you have to leave in a little bit. And of course in half an hour there's follow-up from Evan Carmichael and Senderman. But if you have advice for someone who is in such a relationship or who knows someone who's in such a relationship, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, you must care about yourself enough to get support, because it's not always easy to do it on your own. So reaching out, finding a confidant that won't judge you, that you can share with, is, you know, together you could do what you couldn't do by yourself, because it's insidious. And like Michael said, you sort of, you know, you get numbed out from the whole process. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're immersed in it. So I think that you must care enough about, and if you don't care enough about yourself, because I didn't do it because I cared about myself enough. I did it because I cared about my daughter. I didn't want to abandon my daughter. So I know that sometimes when, you know, self-esteem issues are an issue for people that are in those kinds of relationships, that we don't care enough about ourselves, or we blame ourselves. So if you don't do it for yourself, do it for someone else. And I do believe also that when we do this, we help energetically and vibrationally, we help other people that are suffering just by being a power of example. And yes, maybe it becomes your purpose and you reach out to other people in like forums like this, having these conversations. But vibrationally, when we stop allowing others to treat us inappropriately, and we have enough self-respect, it affects everybody on the planet. So nobody deserves to be abused. Nobody deserves to be hurt and harmed, you know. And so I would just say that even if you're not feeling it, just taking the actions. And it could be very scary, because it takes a lot of courage, because sometimes if you've been abused, that person will threaten on so many levels. So it could be a real threat. I mean, I know women, I have a good friend who works in helping women get rehabilitation from sex trafficking. And those women get immersed in an environment where they become very dependent on, and they're abused. And it takes a lot of courage and support to get out of that system, because you're so beaten down, and then you don't maybe have skills to take care of yourself. So I'm sorry, I'm going off and off. But the point is that take care of yourself. And if you don't feel like you want to, do it anyway for yourself, and get the support, because if it's scary, you need support.
Yeah, I totally agree that support is so immensely important, because of the isolation. You start questioning yourself, and that's the thing. when you start doubting yourself, how do you take care of yourself? What's good enough? So,
Yeah.
Michael, what
Yes.
would you say to someone, if they know someone, or if they actually are the victim themselves, and especially when they are men, because it's a little bit different from men than it is for women, if only because of the stigma, men are stronger than women, so of course they cannot be abused, and we know that the opposite is true. So what would you say?
Just be intentional with how you live life. Check in with yourself often to know how you are and what the situation is, and be honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself, it's just gonna keep happening. And just be honest. Ask yourself how you are. Checking in with yourself often, like multiple times a day, is important, because if you don't do that, life is just going to pass you by, and it's just going to happen to you over and over and over again. It's going to snowball and get worse, and you're not going to know where you stand.
Yeah, that's so true. And I believe the checking in part is what's so important. And of course, there's always this conflict. Terry, we're still talking about the topic from yesterday about the narcissistic partners. And Michael told us that he also started numbing himself. And uh, so my question actually is, if you start numbing yourself, when do you have those clear moments like, okay, hang on, this isn't right?
Um, just in the sober moments, for me anyway, it was
Yeah.
just it was after I would drink. Uh, I would like check in with myself and see why I did what I did and what it was doing, and the pain it was causing myself and others, because I didn't at the time I didn't care about my wife, but my ex, but I had a dog, and I would drink, she would be at work, and I would be caring for my dog, and I would put him at risk, which that got me. That made
Yeah.
me shift my mindset where I was going.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
all that kid
recognize
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
It's
So
when you have someone to care for. Maria, for you, it was your daughter. Michael, for you, it was your dog. That's usually when things start to shift,
yeah,
and sometimes you need an outside perspective. Like
because at the
if you
time I
don't
didn't
do
care
it for
about myself.
yourself,
Yeah.
At the time I didn't care about myself. I only cared about him.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that's probably it. That you still love other people, and you still respect other people. So you see what's going on with other people, or in this case, um, your dog. But having the same empathy for yourself, that's a whole
Yeah,
different ball game. And
Yeah.
being able to say, okay, I'm going to eat properly. I'm going to put the alcohol away. I'm
Mhm.
basically going to take care of myself. Um, yeah, that's a whole different story. Um,
yeah.
so I want to thank the both of you, because I know this is a very, very hard topic to talk about, and the both of you, have been amazing. And
Thank you.
so, any final words you want to say to people?
I'd like to
Sorry.
thank you. I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say to you. What do you want to say?
Um, I first want to thank you for creating the space, Lexi. You're amazing that way. Asking the questions, encouraging people to speak out is a wonderful gift that you bring. I appreciate that. And I appreciate
Thank you.
Michael for sharing his truth, because it's the courageous path. And I think that a lot of times we do these things because we do want to help someone who's suffering, and know that there's light. But I think the thing that Michael hit on, which even with myself, is that, you know, the paradox of loving a pet or a child or someone else is that we learn to love ourselves sometimes through the act of loving others. And that's the gift, and that's the paradox. And that's what I was saying before. Reach out and get help or support, right? That's our theme this month in Movement Makers, support. And we're talking about, that's the crucial piece of this, that, you know, getting support can make it much easier, if not possible, for some people, you know, to. So I just want to encourage that if anybody's struggling with any of this, maybe even private message one of us, because we could be safe people to just hear you, and you know, just sometimes being able to share what you're going through with someone can be the turning point in your life. So again, I want to thank you for creating the space, and I'm gonna have to get off, but let me hear another moment. Does Michael want to say anything else?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I have to go too, actually.
Yeah. So no final words other than.
I'm good. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, both of you, for sharing your story, being this courageous to share it and be there. And I'm very thankful for both of you that you both are now in a relationship where people actually appreciate you and see you for who you are and help you blossom. So, okay, so I'm going to finish it, but again, thank you. And for those out there who are watching, remember what's being said. Find support, find someone to talk to. And if you know someone who is showing the signs, and even though they may deny it, talk to them.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.